Head of the room is muted.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks, Guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So 1, 2. For our remote YLAC members, we need to have your cameras on and microphones off, please. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have one person who's going to be joining a little late, Emmanuel Cruz. He'll be here shortly. And there should be one more remote attendee. And they'll hop on when they're able. I think we should be okay.
Absolutely. Then let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
So before we go to the housekeeping remarks and through all the other aspects of today's meeting, I just wanted to give a quick introduction of myself. I'm filling in for CESA today. I am the new Director of DEI and Community Art Programs. My name is Walter Shen. I've been with AQMD for it's my 26th year now. Exactly. I'm new to this division, but I'm not new to the district, and got my start here through enforcement, worked my way up through administration and compliance enhancement. Really dug in when I did incentives for the last 10 years, and now I'm here. And I'm just happy to share the space with you. And on behalf of CESA, who's off-site at a conference, I'm here just to fill in for her. And to, just happy to be here and just meeting everyone here. So with that said, and Heather, whenever you could get to the housekeeping, let's do that.
Thank you for participating in today's meeting. If attending in person, please do not connect to Zoom or teleconference while in the room, and please silence all devices. If translation is provided, click on the globe at the bottom of your screen to select either English or Spanish. Public comment will be taken after each item. If you're in the auditorium and wish to comment, please use the iPads located in the lobby or complete a blue speaker card as available. If you need assistance, please find a South Coast AQMD employee. Speakers may be limited to a total of 3 minutes or less for all agenda items. Times may be shortened to ensure all speakers can be heard. A countdown timer will be displayed on the screen for each public comment. More time will be allotted for Spanish translation that is not simultaneous. For questions or issues on making a public comment, please call the public advisor at 909-396-3247. That's 909-396-3247. Please adhere to the speaker time limit and treat others with courtesy, civility, and respect. Failure to do so can result in your mic being muted or you being removed from the meeting. Be aware that this meeting is being recorded. By participating, you authorize recording of audio and visual content presented during the live event and consent to subsequent use of the recording in the public domain by South Coast AQMD.
Gracias por participar en la reunión de hoy. Si asiste en persona, favor de no conectarse a la conferencia telefónica o Zoom mientras esté en el auditorio y silencie sus dispositivos. Si traducción es disponible, haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de su pantalla para seleccionar inglés o español. Se tomarán comentarios del público después de cada punto. Si se encuentra en el auditorio y desea dar comentario, utilice los iPads ubicados en el vestíbulo o complete una tarjeta azul según esté disponible. Si necesita ayuda, localice a un empleado de South Coast AQMD. Los comentarios pueden ser limitados a un total de 3 minutos o menos para todos los puntos de la agenda. El tiempo límite puede ser reducido para que todos los comentarios puedan ser escuchados. Se mostrará un temporizador de cuenta regresiva en la pantalla para cada comentario público. Se asignará más tiempo para traducción al español si no es simultáneo. Si tiene preguntas o problemas sobre cómo hacer un comentario público, llame al asesor público al 909-396 909-396-3247. 909-396-3247. Respete el tiempo límite y favor de tratar a los demás con cortesía, civilidad y respeto. De lo contrario, es posible que se silencie el micrófono o que sea retirado de la reunión. Tenga en cuenta que esta reunión está siendo grabada. Al participar, usted autoriza la grabación de audio y contenido visual presentado durante el evento en vivo y da su consentimiento para el uso de la grabación en el dominio público por parte de South Coast AQMD.
All right. And with that, I'll call this meeting to order. Let's do roll call. Heather, please.
Gabriela Ballesteros. Emmanuel Cruz. Mai Do.
Here.
Matthew Wei.
Here.
Yifan Li.
Here.
Vanessa Malesio.
Here.
Lynn Dren.
Here.
Selena Vargas. Absent. Andres Cornell. Absent. Ryan Dover. Absent. Nora Kiasa. Absent. Tai Wen. Sierra Thrower. Absent. Roxana Barrera.
Here.
Yolanda Aguilar Candelero. Absent. Angel Lira.
Here.
Joshua Shield.
Here.
Mark Flores. We have quorum.
Great. Thanks, Heather. Well, welcome everyone. I wanted to take the next few minutes to go through today's agenda. So today we have a couple of special things going on. So Wayne Nastri, our executive officer, he's going to be here to do a quick introduction and Q&A session. He's running a little bit late, but he'll be coming in now. We're going to also do a quick review of the minutes from the last quarterly meeting. We will also be running through a quick review of the annual report, discuss some community-based organization spotlights. That's going to be presented by Legacy LA. They're an amazing community-based organization. Lastly, we're going to finish up with a discussion on goals and requests for the 2025 agenda and upcoming engagement opportunities. And then we'll open it up for any questions. But before we get started, I was under the impression that Tai Wen, you are the new member for this committee. Great, welcome. I just wanted to introduce myself as well and to other committee members. So yeah, welcome. Just wanted to give a shout out and give a quick introduction to you. Is there any background or anything you want to add before we move on? Just a quick background about yourself.
Yes. So my name is Tai Wen. I'm from Orange County, and I was in internship at AQMD. Yeah, it's an honor to be here to listen about the equity market.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Awesome. So moving on, let's do a quick review and approval of the minutes. I hope everyone here was able to review the minutes from the last quarterly committee meeting. And I wanted to open up for any questions or any concerns with regards to that item. This is the only action that is a motion that is required. So if there were no questions, no comments or any questions, then I will move to make a motion to approve the minutes. I just need a second to approve that motion. Second that.
I'll second.
Awesome. So with that, all those. Oh, I'm sorry.
You double check if there's any.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks, Josie. Are there any public comments out there?
I do not see any hands raised.
Great.
None in the room.
Thanks, Josie. And with that said, then now I ask for a second for that motion, right?
I'll second.
Awesome. Thank you. And those are in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Great, great. Okay, and with that said, we will approve the minutes. Now, let's move on to the discussion items. The next one on the agenda is supposed to be Wayne, but Wayne's running a little bit late. So let's skip to item number 4, which is the community spotlight. So with that said, this is the opportunity for the committee members here, both in person and virtually too, to share any ideas or any community spotlights that, that will benefit the collective. So with that, I'll open it up for any comments or anything anyone share from their communities.
Yeah, so recently, in September, we had 3 fires happened at the same time: the bridge fire, the live fire, and the airport fire.
Right.
And at my home, I see big cloud like dust in the air. So I wonder if AQMD had any responsibility in action to reduce the impact of those particles released from those fires, because I know wildfire is PM2.5.
Yes, absolutely. And that's a great question. I think that in terms of controlling natural disasters and emissions from that, it doesn't necessarily fall within the jurisdiction of our agency. Doesn't fall within the jurisdiction of our agency per se. But AQMD does support and provide clean air centers throughout the basin for those residents that are impacted by the fires. I last count. If you go on the Red Cross webpage, there's approximately, I want to say, 11 different clean air centers throughout our basin that can support and provide these centers for impacted residents that are affected by fires, right? So those are something that Red Cross has been working in conjunction with South Coast to develop and have these centers established. So, but that's a great question. Thank you for that. Awesome. We are right now talking about community spotlights, and we wanted to highlight some of the items or some of the community mentioned within these members. Haiwen was good enough to share some of his concerns from the wildfires in Orange County. Yeah, awesome, great. Yes, please.
I'd just like to continue shouting out like the Ciclavia event that keeps happening in different parts of LA. And then all the groups that support it, like San Gabriel, I forgot the group name right now. I just blanked, but they're advocates for like transit advocacy and walkability and pedestrian safety. And it's just great to see people out there and like seeing a different possibility for communities to be able to walk and like be on their streets, and it's not completely occupied by cars. So I just wanted to shout that out.
Thank you for that. Great. Anyone virtually have anything to add before we move on?
If nobody has anything,
Yeah.
so this is a shout out to community organizations in San Bernardino, specifically Just San Bernardino. It's an organization called Just SB. They recently threw an event where they invited other organizations that are also fighting environmental justice, and it was to propose that the city council in San Bernardino gives Amazon workers and other warehouse workers a CBA, which is community benefits agreement. Because as you all know, San Bernardino has really bad air quality, and they keep just bringing warehouses to our communities. And so we're trying to put a stop to that. We've been trying to do this for years now, before even Amazon got the airport that they lied about getting in the first place. But yeah, so we're still fighting that good fight. But yeah, just shout out to that community organization that put that together. There will be another event in February, and I could send that over to you so you can share it. And hopefully you all can make it out to that, because we do need, community to show up for that.
Absolutely. And one of the charter agreements for this community is to advocate and to be
Yes.
able to develop that partnership. So absolutely, please share that information. Thank you for that. Any other comments before we move on?
Yeah.
And with that, then since Wayne Nastry is here, let us give a warm round of applause for Wayne. So Wayne, this is the introduction for our committee members to you and a Q&A. And with that, we wanted to just bring the mic your way and have a good insight on what it is that you do, how it is that you lead the agency.
So let me just ask everybody, I'm pretty much here to answer questions, so I'm more than happy to answer
Okay.
questions. But if you want me to give you background about myself or whatever, I can do that too, and then you can still ask questions. So what do you guys want to hear from me?
The latter. So second. More about yourself and
Yeah.
then we can ask questions.
Okay. Let's see. I'm really old. And I'm reminded by a 617 meeting in Sacramento that we were all at. AB 617, are you all familiar with that program? So, you know, we worked on the development of that program, and it was something that was very important to me. And anyway, we were at a meeting, and it's a public meeting at the end. The organizer said, "So are there any other questions?" And this young person stood up in the back and said, "Y'all are old." And we turned around like, "Oh man, that sucks." Because we all sort of think of ourselves as we used to be the young ones or the youngest in our group. And we were the ones that were doing a lot of, I don't want to say fighting, but we were definitely advocating for a position of perspective. So to sort of share a little bit about myself, you know, I grew up in Carson. And I like to say I grew up when the air quality was really bad. And, you know, I remember as a kid, you literally could not go outside and play because you could not breathe. If you breathed, it hurt. And so you literally could not play. And growing up in Carson, you know, for us, a good air quality day is if we could see Palos Verdes. I don't know if you guys sort of know the South Bay, Wilmington, Torrance, Carson, Long Beach area, but PV, what we called it, was less than 5 miles as the crow flies. So the mountains, San Gabriel Mountains, no, we didn't even know they were there because you could not see that far because the air quality was so bad. And so, flash forward to today, right? More often than not, if you're living in the South Bay area, you can see the San Gabriel Mountains. You can see Palos Verdes. And to the old people, the air quality has gotten a lot better. But the fact of the matter is we still have the worst air quality in the nation. And so, for me, when I was in junior high, I started the ecology club at my junior high school. And so the environment has always been important to me. And, I went to school, went to UCI, I became a chemist. And, right out of school, they kind of said, you're responsible for all the hazardous waste that builds up in the lab. And so I started learning about hazardous waste and things like that. Long story short, I went through a couple of different companies and eventually ended up with a group of guys that started our own company, and we wanted to get venture capital funding. And so we went for funding, and we got $1 million in funding, and this was in the 80s, so that was a lot of money back then. But the thing that really caught my attention was that there were like 70 venture capital firms, and they interviewed every single environmental firm. So if you look at sort of historically what was happening in the environmental field, how many of you are familiar with Superfund? So Superfund is the federal law that deals with the nation's most hazardous sites. So that's the worst environmental disasters that the US government deems are Superfunds. And so there was what was called the SARA, Superfund Amendment Reauthorization Act. And over, again, back in the 80s, over $500 million was authorized for Superfund cleanup. So a lot of the businesses were saying there's going to be a huge opportunity in the environmental field, which for me was great because I believe in cleaning the environment. And now there was going to be funding to help do that. So I started doing a lot more on like Superfund site cleanup. But was also doing other type of different aspects of environmental work. I was appointed to the governing board here in the 90s. And there I learned, a lot about air policy. And after that, I later was appointed to US EPA, where I was regional administrator. At EPA, in that position, you deal with everything. So we dealt with tribal issues, we dealt with pesticide issues, Superfund issues, water quality, ocean, Arctic, I mean, you name it, we dealt with it at EPA. And, to me, it was a great opportunity to learn a lot, especially on tribal lands, because nobody really has authority other than the federal government to work on tribes. And so you build these special relationships. And, there's so many things that we take for granted, right? There's it was called the Johannesburg Treaty. The United States was at risk of defaulting to meet those treaty commitments. And the main reason was because there were people mainly living on tribal lands that didn't have access to water. And I've been to areas where the water source was a big hole in the rock. And they'd say, that's our water. Like, you can't drink from it because you'd probably keel over and be really, really sick. And I'm like, yeah, I probably would. But it sort of shows you the disparity that this nation has when we look at the environmental quality. And it really sort of opened my eyes to the disproportionate impacts that we see all across the nation, right? Whether it's on tribal lands or whether it's in Watts or Carson or, some other places where you see heavy industrialization. And for me, having the opportunity to engage on those issues in a way that I believe makes it better, helps improves the lives of people, is something that you really can't get anywhere. And I've been on private sector and I've been on the government side sector. And if you really want to help people, help your fellow colleagues, your communities, there's nothing like being in government. Very few places do you have the resources that government has to make a difference. Even on private industry, it's not the same. And, this organization is one of the few in the world, let me repeat that, in the world, that people come to learn how this organization operates, what it does, how does it do it, how do we develop rules, how do we have a laboratory that can analyze samples, how can we reach out to the community and to the public. As I look at you all, how many of you were born before 9/11? How many of you remember 9/11?
Well, damn.
So on 9/11, US EPA was involved after the 9/11 event. EPA was involved on the cleanup in New York. And one of the things that horrified me was that EPA was doing air sampling. And it literally took months before EPA released that data. Can you imagine all the people that lived in that area, that were working in that area, that didn't have a real idea of what they were being exposed to? And so I say that because after I left EPA, I said I would never, ever be at a place where that happens. this organization, we can go out on an emergency response. We can do analysis sometimes in as few as hours, do all the QA, do all the appropriate checks, and make that data publicly available. I don't know of anybody else in the world that can do that. And that's one of the things that makes this organization great. It's because you have people who believe in the mission, who are committed to helping our communities, and who want to make a difference. And that's what this organization does. And I can't tell you how proud I am to be the executive officer, because we make a difference in spite of things that we hear, right? Because we're never going to be able to satisfy everybody. There will be those who say you have not done enough. And maybe we haven't. But we're doing everything that we can. And I think that's the real challenge, to do what you can and to understand and to recognize what are the political challenges that you have in which to operate, right? Because you can go off one end and not get the resources that you need, the funding that you need, the people that you need. And then if you don't have that, how are you going to be able to help anybody? So it's navigating that fine line. And one of the other things that I'm really proud of this organization is how much we do work with the communities, engaging with the communities. I was late today because I was on a call trying to determine how do we interact with the EPA. And the point that I was making was that it's really easy in an organization to develop a culture. And if you're in an organization and you've been there for 35 years and you've never been anywhere else, you really don't have a good perspective on those things. And that's true whether you're at a local level only, or you're at a federal level, or a state level, or a regional level. And so part of the challenge is, trying to get as broad experience as possible. In government, we have what are called IPAs. So they're like interagency personnel assignments. So for instance, we might want to put somebody on loan to somewhere else. You talked about Cyclovia, right? Romel Pascual is the executive director. I don't know if you know Romel, but he used to work at EPA Region 9. And then he did a year stint, I think, in Sacramento. And then he did a stint with the city of LA. And it gives you, when you have those opportunities, which again in government are like great opportunities. And if seems like I'm plugging government can be a great job for you guys. And especially if you really want to make a difference. So think about government. I know I kind of always thought, I want to make money. I want to do these things, but you just have to think about how you want to make that difference and where you go. But this organization is literally, in my view, the best. I was going to say it's certainly the best local and even amongst the state. So just this facility, our organization, we're bigger than every single state except one in the United States. And that's California. But we're bigger than every other state organization and local organization. And we have the resources, the gravitas, and the clout to make a difference. Everybody looks to us. How are we doing things? One of the other areas that a lot of people are looking at to us is how do we work with communities? How do we engage with youth, with young leaders such as yourselves? And I know some of you have been interns. Some of you have learned about us through other ways, but your participation in this group is so helpful to us because it gives us a chance to hear from you, which I have not had the chance since I've been talking this whole time. So I'm going to be quiet and maybe have a chance to hear from you and answer any specific questions. So hopefully I've kind of given you a little bit about my background, but Any questions?
I have more so a comment.
Okay.
I think it's true. We can always like criticize what we currently have now, but we should look at how far we've come to. And I always try to get people that I know in my circles to know, like, it's super easy to criticize, but there's so many people working, you know, for these causes and in their own ways, you know, however they can in their lives, you know, because they're trying to live their lives too. But yeah, I appreciate you saying that. So
No, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, when I was at EPA, so at EPA, there's like a few people that are like, they're, I don't want to say gods, but they're like, you know, these are people like you have the utmost respect for. They're like, it's like hallowed ground. And there's one person, his name was Bill Ruckelshaus. He was the very first administrator. He came back, subsequent administration. This guy was like director at FBI. And when you look at his like bio, you're just like, holy crap, this guy's like amazing. And he was the nicest guy. And one year I had the chance to be with him at the White House with a group of kids. This was the Environmental Youth Awards, Presidential Environmental Youth Awards. And I had a group of kids from Arizona that had won the award. We were with Ruckelshaus, and the parents asked, could you sort of give some advice to our kids? And he shared the story that I'm going to tell you, which always really struck me because I found it to be very true in my life. And that was, he said that as you grow through life, you will find people watch you, people observe you. And people are generally good and they want to help you. And oftentimes those people see things in you that you may not see yourselves. And they'll share those views. They'll say, hey, have you ever thought about this? Or have you ever looked at this? And he said, listen to those people because they see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And that has always been very true for me. There have always been people who've said, hey, have you thought about this? Or maybe you might want to think about this because you could do that. And there are things that I'm like, there's no way I could do that. And then, you know, you like, well, maybe I could. Okay. And it's kind of funny. And I even had like one guy sort of tell me, I want you to do this. And I thought, it's impossible. That cannot be done. He was a crusty old guy, and he said, kind of leaned over to me, said, I shed blood for this country, and I'm telling you, you can do it. I just thought, oh crap. And I did it. I was like shocked. And I would never have even tried to do that unless somebody had told me, you can do it. So listen to those people when they sort of tell you things about yourself or point you in a different direction. And, you know, those are really great opportunities and you don't want to wave at them as they pass you by. So listen to those people.
Right. Any other questions for Wayne since we're here?
Because I literally could tell stories all day.
We love it. We love it. Right, well, thank you, Wayne. We appreciate
Thanks.
it. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here and sharing your stories with us.
Sure. Good luck. And if you ever have any questions, call Walter. And he'll get hold of me.
well, I'm sure we just met you now because it's like at the end of our meeting. This is the final meeting, right? So definitely.
Oh, for this year.
For the year.
For the year, right? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, but if you guys have ideas, if there's anything you want to share with me, is there something that I should be doing? Is there something that you see in this organization that we're not doing? Is there any other opportunities that you see that we should be doing?
I do have a question, in terms of, because I'm still moving through my own education and understanding things like environmental matters and the ways the methods we've employed to help control emissions and work through them. As we become more and more capable of creating these spatial and temporal sets of data that allow us to keep track of emissions and how they flow and how they propagate. Have there been any, I suppose, how should I phrase this? When taking the concept of cap and trade for other emissions, how successful were they in leading to innovations and developments that helped control those measures or the emissions that they were targeting in terms of how they've been used by the AQMD?
Hugely successful.
Okay.
They drove investment. They drove innovation. Susan is one of the crafters of the Reclaim program. And the Reclaim, are you all familiar with that? So the Reclaim program stands for the Regional Clean Air Incentives Market. And it basically said to the regulated community, instead of us looking at each piece of equipment, we're going to look at you by a facility. And we're going to set emission targets, and those targets are going to decline. How and where you reduce those emissions within your facility is up to you, but you have to keep track of it. And so some facilities had the ability to invest and to get emission reductions more than what they was needed, right? So they developed credits. Other facilities maybe didn't have the wherewithal to take advantage of that, so they would buy them. So again, when you sort of look back over the historical time period, Reclaim was 94, 3, 93, in that time frame. And it was pretty much voted in 2017.
Yes, or 17, 18.
And it was voted to end because it was becoming harder and harder to get those emission reduction credits. So think about it. You drove emissions down faster than what you normally would have been able to do. You created markets that was based on developing technologies that were used not only here, but throughout the United States, throughout the world. You just created all of these different opportunities for so many different people. The challenge is as you get to zero emissions, then what is it that you're trading, right? And so you go from this sort of market-based back to the original command and control. So has it been successful? I would say absolutely. Did it drive emission reductions faster than what could have been achieved? It's easy to sort of rule by fiat, right? You shall do it. But can you really do it? And the Reclaim market provided that flexibility and showed that it could be done. And so I would say that it's been successful. It drove innovation, drove a lot of economic growth. It cleaned the environment, and it did it in a way that hasn't hurt the economy. So I'm sure you all hear, right? Oh, I can't do that because it's going to cost too much. And I think Reclaim demonstrated that you can have a clean environment or a cleaner environment, and you can have a good economic growth. So, this argument that it's one or the other, yes, you can have both.
I suppose as a continuation of what I was setting up earlier with that, are there any plans by the AQMD to utilize these improved remote sensing technologies and methods of gathering data to possibly bring back or create new cap and trade programs that would allow us to target things like in San Bernardino Muscoy in terms of driving things for reducing diesel particulate matter or helping in terms of warehouse emissions and the like. Would that be something that would be feasible to revisit and possibly implement?
So this is just my opinion. Susan can weigh in and anybody else can weigh in. But my perspective on that is that right now we're in an environment, particularly here in California, where we're driving everything towards zero emissions, right? We have the highest number of electric vehicles of any state. We're looking at zero emission technologies. So as you drive to zero, you're reducing the pollutants. And so I'm not sure that it really creates an incentive market. And then when you look at it in conjunction with what the state's doing, right? The advanced clean fuels, again, zero emissions, it doesn't, you're not creating a market. So from an emissions trading perspective, no, but from a economic growth and zero emissions, I think if you looked at it maybe from a GHG perspective, because there you get the benefits of reducing carbon emissions and you get the benefit of no criteria pollutant emissions, right? The things that contribute to smog or other health problems. So I don't think, given that for us, because we're going to zero, a market doesn't make sense because we want zero, right? I'm looking at Susan like, right? She's like, no.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really appreciate that.
Walter really wants to get on with the agenda, so you've been a wonderful audience. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon. And good luck, whatever you're doing.
All right, well, thank you again, everyone. So let's move on to the annual report. This is agenda number 5. I was wondering if the YLAC Council had time to review or had any questions with regards to this annual report. The intent is for this annual report to be presented in the January 2025 Governing Board recognition. It's a simple write-up, I believe 6 pages, but there are no questions. I just want to bring this out in the open and that are there any questions with regards to the key accomplishments in 2024 or the proposed goals for 2025? Pretty straightforward to me, but I just wanted to open it up for any comments or discussions. I think, something to consider too is that in 2025, it's going to be another exciting year for South Coast AQMD. As Wayne has alluded to, there's never a dull moment in our agency. And I think that in terms of what we have in store for YLAC, it's fluid. It's, if there's new technologies, new incentive programs, new developments on any kind of forefront, we would like to, bring it back to YLAC for discussion and management. Right. So just wanted to preface that while you are looking through the goals for 2025.
Just to clarify, is this the report or is this just like the outline?
Yeah, this is the actual report. Like 1, 2, 3. Yeah, this is the actual report.
Okay.
And since this item is no motion required, it's just something to offer up in case there are any feedback or any questions. And if there isn't any, we can move on to the next presentation, which is going to be for LA, which is the community-based organization, and a spotlight on their accomplishments and what they have to offer. So, but before we move on, just wanted to again open it up for any discussion or feedback.
Things look great from my perspective. I don't know, I like specifics. So like when it said like increasing awareness, like how, like increase youth involvement, like how address it. Like for awareness, I even thought about this. I didn't bring this up last time, but after we left the meeting, I was like, if we had like 5 people from each of our, like, I only represent me but I know like 10 other people who are doing this kind of work, and so I try to bring the committee to their awareness, but I don't know, they can't always make it. That's why they won't commit to like being part of it. I don't know, I was hoping for more specifics, but maybe that's just me. That's some feedback, I guess.
Thanks for that feedback.
Yeah, so we can. This is what's gonna get presented, correct?
This is just a draft for now.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
gotcha.
It's just a draft for now.
Okay,
Just
okay.
feedback, that's all.
All right.
That's this opportunity, correct?
I would like to say that I do like the strengthening collaboration with educational institutions. I was part of the science club, and I remember a long time ago, this org, I think you guys were giving out seeds, like flattened seeds, and I like that. And then, like 15 years later, I'm here, so I feel like this should definitely be a priority, especially when I was young, and I was in the science club, and everybody else was very like, I think that's the prime time to educate children about it, and sometimes that's not really on their radar. So I really like that.
Okay, yes. go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna add to that. I do like the goals that are proposed for the next year and just really that focus of like being more out there in the community and trying to get more, other youth to get involved too. So I do like that it's laid out there.
Absolutely, great, thank you for that. Okay. And if there are no other feedback or comments, let's see here. Yes.
If there wasn't answers, we can open up the public comment on the agenda items that were discussed.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, are there any public comments?
There's a hand raised from a phone number ending 292.
Great, go ahead.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, you are.
Hello? Okay, thank you. My name is Harvey Etter. I'm the founder director of the Public Solar Power Coalition and coming out to the Air District for 5 years plus. Anyway, you're supposed to call, this was for questions before, you're supposed to, after every item, you're supposed to call for public comments, okay? Also, when we sign up, we do *9. What it doesn't say is if you do *9 the second time, it takes you off. And then you have to do *9 again to get back in the queue. Okay, back to the comments that were made in general. I like that, it's great and whatnot. One gentleman talked about the fires. Okay, this is very important, and he mentioned PM 2.5. There was a meeting of mates that we participated in, the advisory group. And we brought this up about 2.5, and basically it's PM 10 and 2.5 are listed as criteria, but they're not listed, especially 2.5, which is the killer, 80 to 90% of the deaths. That goes right through your lung walls and your circulatory system and causes cancer and whatnot. And so they do not test it. The filters only test for PM 10. This doctor came up and agreed that this was important, and there's a need to change the law to include this, and for different reasons for the standards and whatnot. So that's extremely important, and I want to do a shout out to that and the idea about other types of transportation, walking and biking, and that's great, yeah. And so please, after each item, call it out so we can participate. All right. Also, and whatever Wayne said, I've been around here forever too. And when I was 9 years old, I got pneumonia and pleurisy. I got pneumonia again when I was 18 from this air, and they had to drain, out my lungs. All right. So this stuff goes back. I went to Venice High, et cetera, and there's a history around here. But still, the deaths are much higher. Okay, the PM 2.5, the deaths. There's a study by Lancet, been around 200 years out of London, from 18. It said 1 million to 1.5 million people die each year, premature deaths in the USA, based on like 10 million, 20% of all deaths from emissions, and that goes into climate too, worldwide. And the state of California only says 7,500 for the whole state die each year. That's way off, orders of magnitude, 10, 15 times, okay? That's the real. And they know this, and they're a captured agency, and that's the real problem. And we've been litigating for a long time, including in 92, and we've got bringing this back up again, including RICO, Racketeer Influence Organizations, corruption, like that was created for the mob. Okay, the state of New Jersey has cited this recently in climate stuff. Okay, so let's get perspective on this, and there's also being investigated for litigation for homicide, fossil fuel. There's number 48 of the Harvard Environmental Law Review from this year, April. All right, and they withheld publication for a couple of years. All right, that's on being investigated by justice right now. Okay,
Thank you.
let's
Thank
deal
you
with
for
the
your comment.
okay. Thank you. Take care. Bye. Make more comments later. Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Moving on to the next agenda item, which is a presentation from Legacy LA. So with that, I will turn this over to Araceli Rodriguez. She's with Legacy LA, a leadership program manager. And with that, yeah. Hi, welcome.
We're able to share our screen, right? Yes. We can start off with introductions really quick. Hi, my name is Araceli, pronoun she, her, hers, and I am the leadership program manager here at Legacy LA. I've been here at Legacy LA going on my 4th year, but I'm also an alumni of their youth programs. So I was part of this nonprofit when I was in high school, and I'll pass it over to Alisa.
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Alisa, pronoun she, her. I'm one of the leadership program coordinators, and I primarily focus on our environmental justice campaign. And I've been here for like about coming on 3 years now. Now I'll hand it over to Giovanna.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for having us. My name is Giovanna Ordonez, and I'm the environmental justice coordinator here at Legacy, and I've been here for around 3 to 4 years as well.
So thank you for having us. I'm gonna show our presentation. So we'll be doing a little overview of our programs and talk a little bit more about our environmental justice work. So Legacy LA was founded in 2007 by our founder, Luca Lanche. The purpose was there's not a lot of, our main focus is providing services for the public housing development projects, Ramona Gardens, which is one of the oldest housing development in Los Angeles. And our mission is to make positive interventions in the lives of young people by offering alternatives to gangs and violence. So we support the youth by helping them build the capacity to make sure that they're reaching not only they're reaching their full potential, but also provide them with the tools to support their community and make a difference in their communities. So I'm going to show a quick video it's like about a minute or two long. And what's very unique as well is that our now current executive director is Lucy Herrera. She transitioned into the role in 2022, and she was one of Legacy LA's first ever youth. Let me grab the computer.
Herrera, and I'm sitting here in front of Legacy LA. I've been a part of this incredible organization for.
Can you all hear the video?
Yes.
Over 9 years now. Started off as one of the first ever youth leaders back in 2009. I went to college, worked my way up, and now I sit here as the next executive director of this incredible organization. So Legacy LA's mission is to provide alternatives to gangs and violence through our youth development programming. And in addition to that, we equip our youth and community with the tools needed to transform their lives and their communities. What makes Legacy LA so unique as an organization is that we provide holistic support for our youth from middle school all the way through college. And in addition to that, we have this incredible adult leader component as well, where we provide solutions to various different community campaigns that we have in our community. And we develop intergenerational approaches to the work that we do so that our youth and our adult leaders work together to transform their lives and their community.
So Legacy LA, you heard a little bit about from Lucy, but we support we serve students from ages 10 to 24. We have two main departments. So we have our student success department, which they focus more on supporting our youth with their academics. So we have tutoring, mentoring. They have their own case managers, where a case manager is usually like kind of like a school counselor, but on site here at Legacy LA, where they're keeping tabs on their grades, how they're doing in school, and they actually support them by if they can go into their schools and talk to their counselors as well. We also have in the student success department middle school, so we have a gang reduction and youth development office here at Legacy LA as well. We have Dream Big Group. So overall, our middle school program focuses on the leadership skills of the middle schoolers, and eventually our goal is to get them when they are 10, so they go through our leadership pipeline all the way through college. So in our middle school groups, they start some of our EJ work as well. They have our weekly hikes that they go on the weekends, and then they're also starting to build their own gardens. So it's a little bit more like intro. And then in our leadership department, we do a lot of the more power building, community advocacy, environmental justice work, community organizing work as well. And we do that through social justice, which we'll talk a little bit more in our next slides. But yeah, we do a little bit of everything: academics, leadership development. We also added a component of mental health. Mental health is really big right now in the community. So we do provide mental health services and support for our youth and our parents as well. So like Lucy mentioned, we also have our parent component, and our parents are involved in pretty much everything. We believe that if we are supporting our youth, we also need to make sure that we're supporting the parents so that the youth and the parents, we support them in pretty much building up both of them. And then, so overall, with our parent component, we focus on leadership development. We have our Mujeres Poderosas group. We focus on supporting them with workforce development. They also support us with our campaigns. A lot of the campaigns that we're going to talk about come from parents and the youth that are living lived experience. And then since our environmental justice work falls under the leadership department, I'm going to do a quick overview of our department. So our biggest program is Youth Council. And in this Youth Council program, our students are learning the intro to social justice, right? The youth are like the leaders of this program. So we typically ask them, like, what are some issues in your community? And so the topics that have came up are at our advocacy campaign. So they said, environmental justice, there's too much pollution in my community. I don't have access to green spaces. I usually have to travel out of my community. There's not enough parks, not enough trees. I don't feel safe going on a walk. Substances is a big one as well. They say, oh, I see too many liquor stores. I don't have access to healthy grocery stores. A lot of gentrification happening in our community. So all these advocacy campaigns are connected to our youth council program. So first years right now are focusing on environmental justice, youth council. Second years are focusing on substances. The interns are focusing on anti-gentrification, and the social justice interns focus on investing youth, which is the coalition that advocated for LA City's first youth development department in the city of LA. So all of these ideas and all these campaigns came out of the youth part of our youth council program. And what is really unique is that because our program is cohort based, each cohort continues building the previous cohort's work. So we don't just say like, oh, we're going to do this campaign, they graduate by. No, we continue building the campaign until we reach our long-term goals. And then with community wellness and empowerment, I mentioned a little bit with our parents, we offer wellness workshops for them. If there's like campaigns where we can support them financially for them to do door knocking. And then we also have our senior group. And this is, I did want to add as well for our anti-gentrification campaign work. We are surrounded by USC, a lot of factories. One of the new factories is also Amazon. So I mentioned someone talk about it earlier, but we are also working on a community benefits agreement with these developers that are coming into our community, because not only are they gentrifying the community, rent is going up, but when there's new construction, you all know there's new idle trucks coming in, a lot of pollution. So this is something that we are definitely fighting. And then now I will pass it over to Alisa.
Yes, so diving further into our environmental justice work, so as Araceli mentioned, Ramona Gardens is surrounded by factories, by a 50-lane freeway. All of that pollution makes the community the top 1% most polluted communities in all of California. There's a whole bunch of cars that pass through there. It's just disproportionately affected given by how small it is in relationship to like Boyle Heights and then East Los Angeles and then Los Angeles as a whole. So this is an issue that community members have identified for years now. They started by identifying like all the health issues, and then by diving further into where those things are coming from, they were able to test air quality, put together all that data to lead us to this campaign. So the whole mission of this campaign is to improve the overall quality of life of the residents of Ramona Gardens by combating air pollutions and by uplifting the community assets that are already existing. So the whole park, we call it the green buffer because it literally is a buffer between all the freeways, the factories, and the community itself. So the idea behind it is that all of the greenery there will be able to uptake all of the pollution and like release cleaner air into the community to kind of offset all the health issues that they are facing. The really unique thing, though, about this particular campaign and the schematic design behind the park is that all of the input came from community members. So like Araceli mentioned, we have a youth council program, we have a parent program, and these two programs actually came together to conduct surveys. So they surveyed around 500 community members to get input on like what their top priorities were. They conducted various workshops so that way community members and residents there could actually give input on what they wanted in the park. So some of the things that they identified were like, we have dogs, but we don't have a safe place to walk them. So there's going to be a walking trail in the park. There's a weekly, swap meet that happens every Saturday. And they were really concerned with like, oh, you guys are going to put a park here, but like, what's going to happen to us? Like, this is how we make an extra living. So there's actually going to be a designated area in the schematic design of the park. So that way vendors could continue to sell their goods. They could continue to have that weekly, little market. But yeah, and then another component of it is like the stormwater management. So Ramona Gardens is within the LA River watershed. So all that water that's going to be collected already, it's inputted into the design for the park, and that water is going to be dispersed. So that way the park could kind of be like self-sustaining. It could kind of water itself. And then the leftover water that cannot be used in the park will be sent back into the LA River. So we're essentially also cleaning up the LA River. But yeah, that's essentially what the Natural Park campaign is. One thing I did forget to mention is the mural restoration. So in the community of Ramona Gardens, there is a wall. It's pretty short. Like if you stand next to it, you can look over it, and that's what's supposed to separate community from the freeways. And there's already murals there that were created by community members. So what we want to do is restore those murals and also incorporate new ones. So this park has the potential and the capacity to really impact the environment of the community and really improve the air quality for community members. And it also serves as an additional community asset. And then next slide, Araceli. So how does our youth council program fit into our environmental justice campaign? Well, the cohort that I primarily work with, they are the ones that are focusing on the campaign. So not only do they learn about social justice, but it is taught through a lens of environmental justice. So they learn about what environmental racism is. They learn about how they can advocate it through like a legislative process. How could we engage with our elected officials to like push this campaign forward? And then we have a yearly event that we throw. That way the students can present like their service city projects. So this past year, back in April, we had an EJ block party out of the community with over 130 attendees. Majority of them were actually community members, and we actually had a table that was hosted by the Air Quality Management District. So Bernard Tolliver, he actually came through and was passing out resources so that way community members could get connected to you all. It was entirely youth-led, so the students were the ones that were actually facilitating. They were presenting their own service learning projects. And yeah, so it's a really amazing event. That way we can maintain that transparency and remind community, right, that we're still working on this campaign and that there's still effort being pushed forward. For leadership development, back in March, we had 2 of our interns present a workshop to about 20 youth from another organization called Changes. Back in March 18th, we presented to about 25 reps from y'all as well, from the South Coast Air Quality Management District, and we took them on a tour of Ramona Gardens, and we showed them pretty much the site for the natural park. So just keeping engaged with, stakeholders, folks that could potentially, help us with our efforts. Back in April 20th, we had 2 interns present at a youth summit, so that way they could still be connected to other youth programs. From October 12th through the 13th, we had our first year retreat where we took our students on their first overnight trip. They were able to really focus on like leadership development, community building, and then overall for like our program numbers, we have 28 youth council students that are primarily focusing on this campaign. So when it comes to like how we measure our success, right? What is our methodology? Like how does our program function? It's primarily teaching students like the technical skills on how to facilitate, giving them the understanding of what environmental justice is, and then letting them take lead when it comes to our efforts. So when we do talk to elected officials, they're the ones designing their elevator pitch, and we're just here to like help them revise. So going into like our legislative work, right, we were able to connect with like Cal EPA. We were able to connect with like our previous assembly members' office, their legislative team, so that way we can get some advice on like how to push policy forward or what are some policies that we should focus on. That way we can get our natural park in. And we had all of our interns lead these presentations. So yeah, that's pretty much how we measure success, right? Just by our ability to do these actions, the students' ability and their confidence to be able to lead these things, and us just pretty much overall supporting them.
Thank you, Lisa. And I wanted to add really quickly where we are right now with the Natural Park campaign. So it's a really expensive campaign. I think we need to fundraise about 25 to like 30 million. So where we are right now, we have the schematic design, we have the research, we have the community input, but we are now in the permitting process. And we're still trying to learn a lot about that, but I'm sure you all know more. But from what I've heard, permits are super expensive. And because of our location, we're like half city, half LA County. So, and then I think the MetroLink is also there. So it's a lot of permitting that we need to get. So right now we're just trying to continue our advocacy work, try to get more of our elected officials, become our allies, partner up with more organizations, get the word out of our project, and eventually in the hopes of, getting more funding to support our advocacy work. Next, I'll pass it over to Giovanna.
Okay, thank you so much, Araceli. So one of the also really important aspects of the natural park is how we're going to maintain it once it's built, right? So one of the things that we have started doing here at Legacy is creating an EJ workforce pipeline with our youth. And that starts with our Northeast Trees Environmental Justice Stewardship Program, where we're helping youth make connections with nature. They learn the best ways to care for the earth, as well as environmental stewardship. They're learning about careers in environmental justice. So later on, they can see that as a potential career for themselves. We've had around 8 successful cohorts of 12 to 15 students each, where we've had 120 youth in total who have completed the EJ Stewardship Program. Another awesome aspect of this program is that it is a stipend opportunity for our youth. So each youth get around $200 for their completion of the program. As well as we've started our outdoor equity program where we've taken our youth into different natural parks, for example, Joshua Tree, Big Bear National Forest, Leo Carrillo, and Hopkins Wilderness Park. This is super important because a lot of our youth haven't been able to go to these spaces. For a lot of us here at Legacy, this was the first time I've been to these parks. So it's really important for accessibility in our community to take our youth to these parks so they can see what they look like and what potentially our natural park could look like as well. If you want to go to the next slide, please. And then here we have some program highlights of our year. We have our environmental justice town hall here as well, and some of our first year retreat pictures. And I'll pass it on to Elisa if she wants to add anything about each event.
Yeah, so as mentioned, right, for our first year retreat, we took our students out so they could do some leadership development. So they were the ones that were setting up their own tents, they were cooking. Yeah, they got to really explore nature. The picture in the top row in the middle was when we had gone to Sacramento to go visit our assembly member's office. We also got to speak briefly with the office with some staff from Senator Maria Durazo's office. The Ardilla right there, that picture. So that's actually from one of their service learning projects. The students created a loteria card and they were able to input artwork that represented different community assets. So we have a lot of squirrels on site. So the students are always kind of like joking around, pointing them out because they have started getting really comfortable with the students. So that was on there. They also put like different vendors on there. And below that picture, we have a student wearing this shirt. So he actually designed that shirt. On the back, it says environmental justice is social justice. And in the front, it said like Ramona Gardens Natural Park. So finding different ways, right, to uplift the youths, like they're not the areas of growth, like their strengths, and plugging them into the campaign. So like through artwork, through different games, through like culturally relevant activities and stuff.
And I did also want to add really quickly, we also have an Air Ambassadors program that's going to be rolling out. We did have a youth cohort, I want to say right before the pandemic it was completed, but with the Air Ambassador environmental justice work, the youth are monitoring the air quality in Ramona Gardens, and we'll be developing. So this current cohort is going to be with parents and young adults. So they'll be developing a new report from 2024 and, compare it to the air quality that was used and collected for the natural park schematic design data. So that's also another program that is a, stipend opportunity for youth. And then they get to realize like how bad of a air quality community where we live. And then, yeah, that was a little bit about all of our programs. I'm gonna open it up for questions. Feel free to, you want to see more of what we do, we have our Instagram handles on here as well as our website. And then on our website, you will also find the full schematic report of our natural park campaign.
Great, thank you very much. Legacy LA, thank you. Are there any questions from, yes, go ahead.
Would Legacy LA be willing to work with organizations trying to do similar in San Bernardino County?
Yes, definitely. I think that would be awesome. We're always we've collaborated with organizations in the past on a local level by like organizations that are trying to like build up their organizing or campaign work. But I think, yeah, that would definitely be a powerful way to collaborate and try to lift both of our efforts. I will drop my email.
Yes, please.
Also, just a general question. How big is your team? You guys do a lot of stuff, so I was just curious.
Yes, we do a lot. We wear a lot of hats. Overall, Legacy LA has about, I want to say 35 full-time staff. Something else I forgot to mention is we also have partnerships with some of our local schools. So like Wilson High School and Mendez High School, so we are able to provide some after-school programming at the schools. So with those staff included, we're like a bigger number pretty much. But here, like on site, we're about 35 full-time staff. And then part-time, we probably have a little less than 7, maybe.
Yeah, wow.
Great. Any other questions?
I suppose I have one. You mentioned that you have these partnerships with local schools. I have an idea that I'm kind of working with in my head about possibly bringing up later. But do you have any connections to local community colleges or other spaces like those by chance?
Yes, I can add and then you feel free to add, but I want to say we're starting to build those relationships. We currently have interns from Cal State LA and from YLAC. So those schools have their own, for example, with YLAC, they have I blanked out on the name, but their own like internships where they're able to place their own students in nonprofits or community organizations to kind of like provide them with the opportunity to like get their foot in the workforce of them to try to help them to figure out like what community work they're interested in. So I want to say that's how we partnered by being an internship like location for their students.
Thank you.
Great. Any other questions before I open it up for public comment? Right, at this time, I'd like to open public comment if there are any.
No hands raised.
Great, okay. Great, thank you so much. And at this time, I wanted to acknowledge a comment from Matthew. He's commenting that it's just a comment. It is encouraging to see and read the proposed YLAC goals for 2025. It's great to see the growth of the council and future plans. I think it would be beneficial to have the goals be further elaborated to highlight the potential opportunities of the program regarding report, just to get it into the record. Thank you for that, Matthew.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. So, thank you again, Legacy LA, for the presentation.
Thank you all.
With that, let's move on to the next discussion item, the goals and reforms for 2025 committee. So this is an opportunity for us to discuss any 2025 goals for YLAC, any goals requests or any charter changes. Open it up for any sessions. Yes, Joshua.
Alrighty. So in regards to concepts with adjusting the charter, there is a particular limitation in terms of our term limits from which we can operate. If we could make sure that we have a time to review, I suppose, the language that we are currently utilizing, and offer some time to discuss and potentially amend our charter in perhaps an upcoming meeting, that would be appreciated. Outside of that, I would like to kind of move into what I was suggesting a little bit earlier in the idea of strengthening our collaboration with educational institutions and environmental organizations. I've been working with an idea of potentially reaching out to various community colleges within our domain for South Coast and potentially offering a more coordinated group that allows for regional public forum. So leveraging concepts like clubs or going out to community events through coordinations with those community colleges, I believe that we could gain really good insights into our communities by asking people what they might be thinking, what they are experiencing, which would not only empower those individuals, but allow us as representatives of YLAC to understand our community better and push those ideas more into this forum where we can share ideas with you. It's still rough around the edges, and in the future, if we'd like to discuss such a coordination plan, I would also like to potentially have time to discuss such an idea. If anyone has any comments for that?
Absolutely. And Joshua, that's something we definitely consider. I think in terms of, empowering the community to move towards a common objective, I think that's something within the charter and within the scope of what it is that this committee should be doing or will be doing. However, I just wanted to make a suggestion that maybe, one of the quarterly meetings in 2025, maybe you could check in with us before then, and we could, if you have some concepts in mind, we could bring it forward to discuss it with the collective and see what it is that we could do moving forward. But at the same time, it would be a discussion point, not so much, a motion or an agenda item, but, that's something that's definitely acknowledged and definitely heard. Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Any other comments with regards to? Yes.
Yes. So I guess this is more of like a request. So it would be, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Roxana Barrera. As many of you know, I have been an active member of the YLAC since 2019. I've been involved in EJ Spaces since 2017, but got involved in the YLAC specifically because my son was born in 2018 and he had respiratory issues. So I feel like that kind of ignited my want and, my push for this. Anyway, so I have contributed to significant milestones in my community, like getting the ISR approved by the board. That took a long time, but it happened. And yeah, so I would like to ask that if, so currently the membership is for 2 years, like that's the max. So I was wondering if we can extend that to either have folks term out or until they feel like they no longer want to do this. But yeah, because I'm still considered young. I'm 30, but yeah. So I'd like to propose the amendment to the current SEA QMD YLAC charter regarding member term limits. So I believe extending this limit could enhance the continuity of leadership, allowing for deeper engagement with long-term projects and recognize the contributions of experienced members. So yeah, I don't know if anybody has any input on that or think that that's a good idea or, any comments?
I think that is a really good idea. Considering the space that we are in, it takes a long time to orient, and considering we only have 4 points where we are all able to commune a year.
Yes.
And oftentimes without quorum, prior to this year.
Yes.
It would be very helpful to have a longer term limit so people who are in these positions are able to orient themselves and more effectively voice their community.
Yes, definitely.
And Roxana, how many terms do you have in mind? I mean, when you talk about extending.
So I would say the limit does not exist. But I don't know, because right now, it's you term out at 35, right? Like that's the highest you can go. So I would suggest doing it until then. And I'm not just saying that because I'm 30, but yeah, I feel like there's just so much work that we have to do. And as you said, we meet just 4 times a year. And if it's 2 years, that's 8 times that we see each other, even if that, because sometimes folks can't make it. Like in the last meeting, there was a miscommunication and I did not get the email that it was happening in August. So I thought, oh, maybe it's not happening, so things like that, stuff comes up or folks aren't able to come or, they join virtually. But yeah, I feel like there should be more of a chance for people to get involved, even if it's for more than 2 years, as long as they have some way to get, because I'm still getting more people that are my age, even older, involved in the community. And, so I'd like to invite them to things like this and be like, yeah, you can join if you want, but, you have until 35. And that's, I feel like that should be kind of like the standard limit is just until you age out.
Absolutely. This is the space to talk about updates to the charter,
Yeah.
especially with this item. However, just as a heads up and a reminder, whatever charter amendments are going to be received, we will have to go to the administrative committee and then go for the governing board's approval. So it is a process, but we're here to support.
If you need me to show up to that too, I can also go and like do a speech.
Good stuff. Good. All right. No, these are great comments. Thank you. Any other comments or suggestions that we could
Yeah, I do have a comment. So I am a new member. So I don't actually understand all the responsible member. So I would say like if we had like a program on introduction about the meeting and all the responsible to the community and all the resource that I can get hand on, that would be great.
When you say you're talking about the different committees, is that what you're talking about? The responsibilities of the committees, or I didn't catch that part?
Oh, yeah, I mean the responsibility of the member, of YLAC.
Oh, I see.
Yes. Because I'm new member and I'm kind of like getting to know about all the things like happening at the moment.
Got it. Thank you for that. Anything else? Any other updates or comments? Yes.
I don't know if this would be possible for like a charter, update, I guess. But some of us kind of travel and work and live between two regions. So I feel both representative of both like in Los Angeles County, but also San Bernardino, which is where I'm born and raised. So I'm familiar with both issues. I just want to be able to say on, on paper, like I also do represent for the IE type of thing.
Great comment.
And I don't know if that would go through like administrative process as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got it.
Thank you very much. And for this item, if there are no other additional comments or suggestions, open it up for public comment. Is there anyone on the phone or anyone?
No hands raised for public comment.
Anybody in the room? Awesome. Great. So moving on to this, one of the last discussion topics, which is upcoming engagement opportunities. Just so far, one of the things we've been reiterating is the monthly, the first Tuesday of every month, US EPA Region 9 Environmental Justice Community Check-in. They have a meeting every month, every Tuesday from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. So if there's any interest in attending, the link is provided in the agenda. I don't have it with me right now, but we encourage you to please join in and listen in and participate. And with that, I will open that item for public comment, if any.
No. One hand raised online.
Great. Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello, am I being heard?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Thanks. My name's Harvey Etter. I'm the founder and director of PSPC, Public Solar Power Coalition, going back 40, 50 years. We did as a thesis at UC Santa Cruz, Environmental Studies, Political Economics, and a consulting contract, the Low Income Solar Equity Program for the PUC, and presented in the late 70s, in 80 and 81. Consultants to turn in the Bay Area, etc. Okay. There's been no evaluation of that ever done by the local district, by CARB, by EPA. Equity is a major issue. And we brought this up, and a French economist named Piketty
Mr. Adder, this
who wrote.
agenda item is for the US EPA Region 9 Environmental Justice Community Check-in.
Yeah, okay, I tried to get into that meeting yesterday. I called Wayne's office, they get nothing from anybody. I called Marta, nothing. We had been in that meeting and we've been 86, okay? This is outrageous, okay? So I want to know what happened at that meeting, what's going on. This has to do with the money coming down that Trump's trying to kill. And what's happening COP 28 in the South, and the income that we should be leveraging ours, and we've been saying these for a decade or more, to coordinate with that. They're trying to move from 100 billion a year to $1.3 trillion. It's on right now, and the G20 is going on, and that's what's going on. And we got to be leveraging this group, and we worked with you to leverage from the warehouses, the indirect source rule 23, what is it, 005? I forget the exact number, but okay. And then to start worker co-ops with the community owning the stuff that's going on with Amazon. Let's be real, man. Okay, so there needs to be a different perspective. You got to open up. You don't purge the people on this, and that's what's happened on this. Also, the February 8th Administrative Committee 19 incorporated by Reverend, that's been purged too. Okay, and December 6th of the same year, we got run out of court trying to file this with EPA and the Ninth Circuit. It's outrageous. People got to be educated.
Thank you, Mr. Adder.
Thank you, Mr. Eder. Okay, and moving on to other business. So a couple I'd like to mention, just wanted to your point, Roxana, coming in 2025, those of you who are still interested, please continue to reapply for membership. Right, we're always looking for a youth voice to help us in navigating through our day-to-day and our communications with the public and with the regulated community. So we appreciate that. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that please visit aqmd.gov/careers. Please put in a job interest card for those of you who are interested in applying, just for consideration. We're always looking for good people. So those are the two things that we wanted to discuss in other business. That I believe the next item would reach a public comment period. This was for general comment.
Limited to 3 minutes.
Great, limited to 3 minutes. Thank you, Jason. And with that, we will open it up for general public comment for limited to 3 minutes.
No hands.
No hands. Comment.
One hand raised online.
Got it. Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, am I being heard? Yes.
Yes.
Hi there. Hi again. I'm Harvey Eder. I'm the founder director of Public Solar Power Coalition, speaking for myself and for PSPC and like-minded folks and entities. Review, okay? Trump's apparently is arguing that he's elected, okay? There's a basic cloud over this that I only found out about a couple of weeks ago, that the Supreme Court, there's a 14th Amendment Constitution passed 1866. Sections 3 and 8 say, and this was after the Civil War, you cannot hold a federal office if you participate in insurrection. Okay? It's been charged, it's on, and he's poisoned the body politic with his lies, his mendacity. Enough is enough. So both the Supreme Court of Colorado took him off the ballot. The Supreme Court of Illinois did this, and also of Maine, California as well. So just the three there, they were overturned by the Supreme Court to take him off, and they said they were worried about violence and stuff. Well, we got real worried about violence. Project 25's taken away. The EPA, justice, and education. All of this is moot, man, and we got to deal with the separation of church and state, the new apostolic movement, incorporating by reference to book.
This is the Young Leaders Advisory
Don't interrupt
Council.
me. This is important. This is political economics. This is the only I can talk on what I want. Don't purge the people. We brought up solar. We brought this to your Department of Energy, the sunshot over 10, 15 years, bit monolith, the moonshot. Musk wouldn't be on the moon if it wasn't. So this is important stuff. We brought that to you, 100 exhibits, and you purged us. You never analyze it, nor did the state CARB, nor EPA. And we bring this up, you purge us. We've got a right to talk. We've got a right to be heard, and we've been doing this. But I was the first environmental studies student in UC. All right, you want to talk about Ruckel's house? We got a living Christmas tree in the White House in 1970. That's been purged. It's not even in the records of 100 years. Okay? I met Ruckel's house in the elevator. He was the first head of EPA. He asked me, "Well, you're part of Environmental Action?" Like, no, I worked with Environmental Action Foundation in '74. He was Attorney General there as part of the Saturday Night Massacre. He refused to fire his before he elected the special prosecutor, and then and then it was second time ahead of EPA under Reagan, a Republican, but he was opposed to Trump. He died a couple of years ago. This is real, all right. So this stuff with the Supreme Court, okay, it was changed to 13 under Roosevelt. We've got no ethics standards and everything. All the other courts they do, at least they got to have it from the district courts and from the circuit courts, and all this kind of corruption bought out by billionaires. They're got to be taken out. It's got to be done now. We cannot let the transfer go on the 6th. And that's the way it is. That they're also with these 3 states. And California, you've got like 80, 90 votes. It changes the electoral college, and it's on.
All right. Thank you for the comments. So I wanted to make a mention that the next meeting will be Wednesday, February 19th. Looking forward to seeing you. If I don't facilitate, Cecil will be here, but either way, I will be here as well. But just want to thank you all for taking the time and for being here and sharing the space with us. So we're adjourning this meeting. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. And Alberto and Guy. If there's leftover food, please feel free to take. Please feel free to take leftovers.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah.
Sodas for the rich
SB. No, I'm just involved in a lot of community organizing spaces. And that's one of the organizations that the organization I work for does. So I don't organize like for work, I do it for fun. Because I'm actually, yeah.